Paraham Apanaha Samsitim Gauram Yannama Vivashogranam Sarasadyo Vimutteta Yad Bibitishvayam Bayam Agadamana Yasuranandarananda Suno Kamalanayana Gopichandra Brindavanindra Prandata Kuruna Krishna Tineka Surupe Twai Mamari Tirucher Vardatam Namadeyam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Brahma Rama Brahma Hare Hare. So today they asked me to speak something about Srila Prabhupada, and I wanted to read some things from the Hari Bhakti Vilas, because the Hari Bhakti Vilas was by the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He ordered Sanatana Goswami to compile a book of all the points and principles of devotional service, which number, I believe that's 130 or 132, which include nothing to be left to speculate on how we should function and how to elevate ourselves. So nothing is left in there, including how to go to the toilet, how to offer, how to do circumambulation, worship Tulsi, offer prasadam, offer bhoga. Everything is there. So nothing is to be speculated on. And in the first chapter of Hari Bhakti Vilas, the first principle of all the 130 things that are covered is Adao Guru Samstaya, to take shelter of a spiritual master. That is the first principle of devotional life, is that one should accept a bona fide spiritual master. And what is a spiritual master? That is also, everything is explained. There's nothing to be speculated upon. And the sincere seeker of the truth, one who is actually after the truth, he wants to know God. Te samgyani nitya yukta ega bhakti vishishate. Krishna says, of those four types of people that come to me, the pious people, the impious, the asuras, they don't come to Krishna. Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradama mayaya pritigyana asuram bhavam. They have a nature of atheism. They're envious of the Lord. Therefore, they cannot understand his pastimes or understand what to speak of his pastimes. The envy is so deep that they say it all came from a chunk. They can't appreciate or enjoy anything. There's no enjoyment for them. What is to enjoy if you cannot enjoy Krishna's varieties in this creation? That's the beginning of bhakti, beginning of God understanding, where Krishna is saying how to think of him. Rasoham apsukonteya prabhasmi sasi suryayo. Everywhere is Krishna, and everything is enjoyed by devotees. Srila Prabhupada, he would take some fruit sometime and just roll it in his hand and enjoy. How has Krishna made this? So we can enjoy the wonders of a pineapple and the wonders of a coconut that grows in the sand. And you climb up there, and where this fresh water comes from, which is full of electrolytes and all type of minerals to nourish your body and quench your thirst. Everything is enjoyable. The apple, it is kept, the skin, the apple is kept nice and crisp, and watermelon grows in the summer. Amazing fruit, full of juice and very tasty, and it just grows on the ground. It grows, and go pick it up. You don't have to climb. You pick up, enjoy. Krishna is doing all these things, and for the atheist, they don't. But for the devotee, he is enjoying all these varieties. So of all the four types of devotees that have come to Krishna, Tesam Gyani, one who is after knowledge of God. He needs to know. It is something that is a personal quest. It is something that is necessary for people to exist. Because they conclude, what is the use of life? And if they're atheistic and they look at this world because they know. Prahlad Maharaj says in the 7th canto, Kutra Sisa Sruka Migi Trishna Rupa. He says, Kutra Sisa Sruka Migi Trishna Rupa. It is a mirage in the desert. And the learned philosopher, the Vidwan, he says they know very well this place is simply drops of water here and there. But before those little drops of water, they don't mind to stay here and suffer. So the one who concludes here that there is nothing here, then I should seek elsewhere. Just like if you go fishing and there's nothing in that pond, you go to another place. Or any type of thing, you want to sell some product, nothing in this area, I move to there. So when one is concluded that this is a world of suffering, it is a world of pain, it is delusional, every action has an actually negative action, there is no happiness. Srila Prabhupada was very fond of saying, when people would say, he would always say so-called happiness, or actually there is no happiness, it's all suffering. For those who have realized this, and they have understood this, then they have to seek out. Just like in Dhruva Maharaj, he wanted to seek out what is God. His mother said, well, he usually found in the forest. So he wanted to find that. So he went to find God in the forest, and he did the necessary activities which one does to realize God at that time and place. Whereas the atheist, he'll go jump off a bridge or become a drug addict and cover his consciousness and murder his own self. So one who needs to know this, then he should seek out a spiritual master. So I'll read some of these things, and forgive me, this file in this reader here is very slow to change the pages. Okay. Thus one should take shelter of a bona fide spiritual... This is Sanatana Goswami writing, and he's saying these things. This action will be taken by an intelligent person. A person who cannot understand that material life means continued material sufferings is not intelligent. He is like an animal. It may be that such a person is like a hunter or other great sinner, and that is why he has lost his intelligence. Labdva, that he quotes this verse, Labdva sudurlabham idam bahusam bhavante manushamartadam manityam apihadira turnam yatena lapatet anumrityu yavan nisrayasaya vishayakalu sarvatyashyat. So, wait a second there. Prabhupada used to quote this verse. It's from 11th canto. 11th canto of all the cantos of Bhagavatam is very nice. There's so many, everything is concluded in there. This thing doesn't want to change pages. What to do?
Uddhava Gita is there.
Yes, and also the Prabodhas are there. Okay, so anyway, this happiness, the verse means, because it's not changing, this happiness is available even for the animals. So when one gets this human form of love, labda sudurlabha bahu sambhavante, labdava, very difficult to obtain, to get this human birth. And one should get this to attain the highest perfection, with something which is not available for the animals, because sense gratification is available everywhere, even in the most abominable species. But Krishna consciousness is only available for a human. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. I don't know, the battery is low or something. Still, he didn't change. The purpose of This human life is a very rare achievement. This human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat, having the spiritual master as the captain and the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as favorable winds impelling it on its course. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize his human life to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. So Srila Sanatana Goswami gives a commentary. He says, this verse is spoken by Lord Krishna, who is the original personality of Godhead, as it is described in Srimad-Bhagavatam. The word adyam here means the root of all auspicious results. The human life is attained after many pious deeds. Without many millions of struggles, it is not possible to attain the human birth. It seems to come of its own accord. Jignashushtraya uttamam pare sabde pare nanishnatam brahmanya upasamashlayam ata guru pashrasraya. This is the next verse he quotes. This is, okay. One should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead says this in Srimad-Bhagavatam, 11th canto. One should take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master who is peaceful, who knows the truth about me, and whose heart and mind are fixed upon me. So when one is looking what is a guru, then he has to look for qualities. It's not that the popular. I was once in Honolulu, many times there, but I went up Brahmachari ashram. And the brahmacharis were sitting up there, and they were having discussion about which guru are you going to take. I like him, he came here. They were having like discussion. So that morning I had to give class. And then I said in the class, I said, I heard discussion upstairs about guru. You think it is so easy to get a guru? You fellows, why are you here? If you could get a hot girl and a Ferrari and a bunch of money, you wouldn't be here. You can't even get a Ferrari or a Porsche or a Mercedes, but you think the guru is so easy to get, so cheap to get, that I'll make my choice whichever one. Rupe Brahmande Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Kripa Bhakti Lo, to be very, very rare to get a bona fide spiritual master. Very rare to see a person so exalted that he's in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's very rare to find such a person. What to speak, you can't get material objects. People come here, many come, they can't get material objects, material things, because especially in India, it is very difficult to work out here. You may be a certified accountant and you make 12,000 rupees a month or 15,000 rupees. It's a very difficult life. You go into the inner cities, you go to Calcutta, amazing. They go from Krishnanagar on the train and they pack in and they come into Shelda and they pack out. You can't even breathe and it's 120 degrees in there. And they do this every day just for a few paisa. So Sanatana Goswami continues, to learn the transcendental subject, one must approach a spiritual master. In doing so, one should carry fuel to burn in sacrifice. The symptoms of such a spiritual master is that he is expert in understanding the Vedic conclusion, and therefore he constantly engages in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can approach such a spiritual master and understand everything spiritual. I'm trying to move this stupid thing. We can hear what is the qualities of a spiritual master, what is his nature. And Srila Prabhupada, I had many years with His Divine Grace. I traveled with him all over India. I went with him to Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Los Angeles, many places. And I witnessed firsthand the constant, we can say the consistent character, the consistency. There was never something that threw doubt in your mind. Because we came, everybody comes here, and we have to put our faith in something. We're putting our heart, we're giving our heart to somebody, we're putting our faith in that, and if our faith gets dashed, then it is very destructive. It is a total destructive thing. So with Srila Prabhupada associating with him, after always watching him, everything he did, what I saw him do, and particularly many particular instances, increased my faith very strongly in some cases, the way he dealt with some people. In this room one day, it was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day, and we were sitting in here, about 7, 8 devotees, and I was leading some kirtan in a very mellow mood. His Divine Grace was sitting behind playing them kartals. And it was winter time. It was January, February, it was cold. And then the door opens and in comes George Harrison and Ravi Shankar, two famous people. If you don't know who George Harrison, he was a singer in a Beatles group called the Beatles. And Ravi Shankar was a famous sitarist. I asked Prabhupada, how did he get so good? Prabhupada told me 7 lifetimes of practice. Now he got this good. So these anybody who's ever, whatever they do, painter or musician or whatever, it takes them many lives to get to the top of their craft, where they get the money, they get the fame. They didn't get there overnight. They did many vrats to achieve something temporary, and a long time doing that. So then when Srila Prabhupada, I was leading the kirtan, so I had to show off a little bit because this guy came in the room, but we were dancing, and then the first thing Srila Prabhupada said was, you are both very famous men. Then he said, especially you, George. But what is your guarantee for the next life? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. You must accept the spiritual master. So after that, then Prabhupada sang some sorry himself. No, that wasn't recorded. Unfortunately, it was very nice. And then George ran out to see Guru Das Yamuna. Anyway, then after they left the room, I said, and the Ravi Shankar sat there and Prabhupada didn't even talk to him. Didn't even say hello. He went out. Prabhupada didn't talk to everybody. He never cared. He never compromised or tried to, was flattered by anybody unless they were materialistic people. So then I after he left the room, I said, Srila Prabhupada, today you've increased my faith so much just by the way you dealt with this person. You did not flatter him. You ordered him that he should accept the spiritual master. Just like when Prabhupada was in England, when they went to look at the land, they found one village, actually, which was vacated, and you can buy the whole village. And then Prabhupada, there was a bank there. And he said to George, then he said, you can buy the whole village, we will, and then we will have the bank, and you can put all your money in our bank. He didn't ask for a little bit, he asked for all of it. So he wasn't shy because it wasn't for him. But these type of things increase your faith, one after another I have seen. So here we go. Sanatana Goswami continues, one should always remain in the shelter of the spiritual master. In Srimad-Bhagavatam, the personified Vedas affirm, O unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, they who leave the shelter of their spiritual master's lotus feet and holding back the senses with breath, struggle to control the wild horse of the mind, meet with hundreds of calamities. They are like merchants trying to sail on an ocean in a boat without a captain. So these qualities, which have to be there, 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. They have to be fully present. Oh, this is far out. It comes up the next thing. It says the qualities of a genuine spiritual master. In the mantra Muktavali, it is said, a genuine spiritual master is saintly. He's born in a pure family, diligent in performing his prescribed duties, a follower of Varnashrama, devoid of anger, learned in the Vedas and scriptures. Srimad-Bhagavatam also describes the qualities of a genuine spiritual master. So here it is, Prabhupada, we were not born in a pure family, but he was, and his grandfather, and Prabhupada said all back the generations from him were pure Vaishnavas. So we cannot say that we could not become a spiritual master. Prabhupada was special. He's an acharya, and he had that particular opportunity. But I've also been told by some other people that you have to be born again in India to take birth in a Vaishnava family. It is the highest birth, there's no doubt. To have a body that is already made of the mode of goodness when you're born is immediately qualification. I know some sannyasis and sadhus that are purely situated in the mode of goodness. You must be in the mode of goodness to be a spiritual master, minimum qualification, minimum. And in this way you cultivate spiritual knowledge and you realize these things and you impart them to others. So also these qualities go on. The spiritual master must be faithful, free of envy, a pleasing speaker, pleasing to the eye. Prabhupada was very pleasing to the eye, wasn't he? We were fascinated. His feet looked like pearls, mother of pearl. His mouth, his ears, his movements, hypnotic. Everything was. We would go out to preach. Well dressed. Prabhupada was well dressed because we dressed him. Otherwise, I've seen him. And he, a person who works for the welfare of all beings. I can talk while this changes pages. Oh, more it's changing already. Intelligent, humble at heart, perfect, non-violent, thoughtful, virtuous, intent on worshiping the Lord, and grateful and affectionate to his disciples. So Srila Prabhupada had all these qualities. We went to, I believe it was G.D. Samani. He is one of the richest men in Bombay at that time. And Srila Prabhupada was in the room, and some people had come to see him, and he was talking, and then servant, whoever, came in and informed Prabhupada it's time to go for the function. Srila Prabhupada got up, and first thing he always did when he'd leave was take his mirror, look at his tilak. You should have done that. You don't have any. But first thing he did is always check his tilak. Then he got up, and he had this horribly wrinkled dhoti. Prabhupada used to sleep in his dhoti, his clothes, from that day. He didn't have any night pajamas or anything like that. He would just lay down and sleep. But this was really wrinkled, you know. And here we are going to one of the richest men in India's house, and Prabhupada just get up, checked his tilak, and left. So that was another thing that impressed me. It wasn't that, he just wasn't really aware of that dhoti, but he, you know, and I remember when we went there, they served some onions, were in the food. So we're, maybe, I don't know, 15 devotees or whatever, and we have these little tables, and we're sitting there, and Srila Prabhupada's at the head of the table, the head of the thing, and we're eating something, and whispered to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, there's some onions in this. Srila Prabhupada said, eat it. He didn't want to disturb this man. And then he said, we are not fanatics. So in certain course of events, and we don't particularly enjoy onions or garlic. It's not something that we like, but we took that. So Prabhupada was extremely affectionate to his devotees. He could be strong like a thunderbolt. He could be soft like a rose. But he was extremely grateful also to any small little thing that devotees did. And toward the end, when he was on his last resting place here, different devotees would come in the room and he would hear them, their voice, or maybe they were in the choir in the kirtan, he would hear them, and then he would call them and he would say like, this devotee, he said, he took me to Tirupati. This devotee brought me here. This devotee did that. He remembered everything. And he was very grateful for that. He appreciated all that. So the spiritual master, Sanatana Goswami, continues, is capable of both punishment and mercy, devoted to mantras and yagnas, examining all sides of an issue. He would examine all sides of an issue. Prabhupada was expert at seeing all the sides. Like we had one sannyasi. He was married. So his wife ran off with somebody, so he had opportunity. He was a brahmachari. He got married, and his wife ran with somebody. So then we came to India, and we were here for some year, maybe year and a half. And then there was a big pandal in Bombay, and then his ex-wife shows up. And you have to understand, we were 20, 21, 22. This boy, he was, at that time, he got married, he was 18. She was like 25 or something. And now he's been a sannyasi. He was maybe about 21. So she comes, and she's looking for him. And she's a quite lusty girl with heavy energy. So he's like terrified, and so I'm keeping a watch on the situation because he went behind the pandal and I saw her coming out the side to try to go talk to him, and I ran out and broke it up. So then he goes to Srila Prabhupada. This is Prabhupada looking at all sides of the issue. He said, Srila Prabhupada, you have to tell her to go. Wife shouldn't see the husband, the ex-husband. I mean, they weren't even married but 4 months or something, but, he shouldn't see the, ex-wife. Then Prabhupada said, why are you agitated by her? There's millions and millions of women you see daily. Why this one agitates you? Because you've had sex with her. That's why it agitates you. And then he became quiet and he said, what can I do? She's also my disciple. If I tell her to leave, she will become discouraged. So we decided to leave. We went back to South India the next day. So that was probably looking at all sides and seeing the benefit of everybody. So the spiritual master is pure at heart. He's merciful, and a genuine spiritual master has these and many other virtues. He's a treasure house of virtues. A genuine spiritual master is a worshiper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, peaceful and free of material desires. Some people, Prabhupada was given many, many gifts. And I gave him a lot of gifts. I used to love to give him stuff. And I was, one quick story was that I was, we collected lots and lots of money, but I used to give the little things. So one day I was coming to, it was the 2nd of January, 1975. So Srila Prabhupada was to come to Tokyo, and we were in the 19th of January. But I had this $108,000 to give him. I didn't give him the money, I gave him the receipt. But I purchased this watch. I knew he liked Seiko. He liked the Japanese because they printed his books for free. Wonderful, you've heard maybe the story of a Krishna book. Prabhupada went there with a Krishna book, and they printed it with no collateral. They didn't know that this book would be popular. And they also fixed his teeth for free and gave him a nice, they had such respect for him, and they put the money up for the 3 Krishna books, the original 3 Krishna books. So he had an affection for those people, for them helping him. Who else would help a person that would come in with this Krishna idea? And Dainippon in Satsu was the printer, and they were like the biggest printer in Japan. They made the Coke cans and the whatever. And Brahmananda tells the story of how they couldn't finish the Krishna book in time, and he wanted it because in 1970 he came from Tokyo to the San Francisco Rath Yatra, and we were all waiting. We heard this Krishna book was coming out, and they said we can't finish it, and so he was quite disappointed. But just as he was boarding the plane, in those days we walk out onto the tarmac, and you would go up the steps. They drove up in limousine. They got out of the limousine. The executives, the president of the whole printing company, and this printing company, you've seen it, Bada in Ichigaya. It's a city block square, hundreds of trucks. This is not a small company. They were printing Time Magazine, Newsweek, you name it. The president of the company came personally, and he handed Brahmananda a box of Krishna books. And Brahmananda took that box, and he came to San Francisco with that and presented this to Prabhupada. But one book was missing from the case, 20 books in the case. And Prabhupada said, where is the other book? She said, I sold it on the airplane to the man next to me for $20. So Prabhupada said, very good. And he said, Prabhupada said, go sell them all right now. He didn't even want to keep the copy. So, what was I saying?
How much affection he had.
Yeah, so the watch. So anyway, he liked the Japanese. So I saw that's this Seiko. And that days, the first quartz watches came out. You know, they tick 1 second, 1 second. Before it was all automatic. You had to shake them or wind them up. And then the quartz watches came out. And I saw one. It was $350. A Rolex then cost $500. And the Rolexes, you know, they're actual gold, like this one. They're gold. But Seiko, it was gold-plated, but it was the movement and the look of it. So I know Prabhupada didn't like this kind of snap things. He didn't like that. These are all things I watched him do. He didn't like that. He liked the stretchables. He could put it on and take it off, and take his massage. He'd slide it off and set it down. So we went in the market in Ueno and got an Italian band, which cost 10,000 yen. And that was about $100 then. You know, maybe $100. No. Yeah, 30, 40 bucks, yeah. So anyway, we had that put on, and I arrived in Bombay, and Srila Prabhupada's watch had broken 2 days before. And in those days, when you came into India, if you had a watch a tape recorder, a camera. They wrote it in your passport. Everything was black market. They were so into their, we are Indians, we don't need anybody, that they told Coca-Cola, give us your formula. And Coke said, no way, we don't give our formula to anybody. Get out of India. So they came up with Campa-Cola. And it didn't last long, but Thumbs Up still's around. But Campa-Cola disappeared. And everything was written in, and anyway, I smuggled the watch in. And then I presented it to Srila Prabhupada. And so he had a nice watch. And he asked me, he said, very nice. He said, how much did it cost? And I said, Srila Prabhupada, it's a gift. It's impolite to ask how much it cost. So even I corrected Srila Prabhupada. I'm so fallen. I think there's not one person I haven't corrected. Srila Prabhupada just smiled. So later on, about a year and a half later, we're in Calcutta. Srila Prabhupada, some devotee flew in from Dubai, and he had a solid gold Rolex. He presented the solid gold Rolex to Srila Prabhupada. And we came out for the morning walk, and he's got this solid gold Rolex on. And I looked at it and started thinking, what's this? I could have got him one of those. I didn't like that at all. I thought he liked, if he wanted a Rolex, I would have got him one. But, I got really disturbed by it. So I didn't say anything. So the next morning, Srila Prabhupada comes out, and there's a chutter you'll see in his room that I'd given him. That chutter now is worth around, I ain't going to say it because somebody may break the thing and steal it. It cost $1,000 then. It's a tush or whatever from the, and he had this chutter on. And the next day he came out for the morning walk, and he looked at me and he put his chutter back, and he pulled his sleeve back, and he had my watch back on. And he said, satisfied? And I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And he wore this watch up till the end, and he gave it to Upendra, his servant. The last month or so, he gave Upendra that watch. So that's Prabhupada's mercy, how he was so kind and accepting things. And many things like this. It's according to service. If you do service, you have a right. You have a right to ask your spiritual master for something. I used to ask him for everything. I wasn't shy. The whole room would be full, and someone would get, like Navayovana Maharaj gave Srila Prabhupada a conch shell, a right-handed conch shell from South Africa. He set it on the desk. Prabhupada looked at it, and as soon as he set it on his desk, I said, Srila Prabhupada, can I have it? Yeah, take it. I took it. Another time, one Ram Das from Australia, he made this oil painting. Perfect. I have one at home, a color painting. But this one was oil. And he gave, Madhuvisa brought it from Australia, and he gave to Srila Prabhupada to put it on the wall. And I walked in and said, Prabhupada looks just like you. Can I have it? And the good one was I used to buy him shoes. And he liked Tom McCann. That's the shoes you'll see in the cabinet there. Those are Tom McCann, that's a shoe shop in America. Americans know it. And you have to dye them. They don't come that color. They come white. So we would dye them saffron. So he came out of his room one morning for the morning walk in Honolulu, and I had his new shoes all ready for him. So he looked down, and everybody likes their old shoes. New shoes aren't very comfortable generally, and you got them broken in, and they're not that damaged or anything. But by his grace, I slipped them on his feet, and there you go. Those are mine. I took that pair, And I did it the next year also. I had 2 pairs. And then about 2 weeks after I put the shoes on his feet, some other devotee decided he was going to do what I do. So he got some shoes, dyed them. Srila Prabhupada came out of his room and he went to put his shoes on, but he was going to put the shoes he bought. And Srila Prabhupada jumped back. "What are you doing? Get out." He didn't want the shoes. He only accepted them out of his kindness, and if you did service, you had a right, some right to ask him or say something. Once Srila Prabhupada, it was a good story, I got a letter. And when we got the letter from Srila Prabhupada, all the devotees would, in Tokyo, all the devotees would, I would wait till devotees came back. So I got a letter from Prabhupada. And I would open it, and it would generally sometimes be about thank you for this much money, or sometimes I would complain. I gave up complaining. You see, you only get a letter if you send a letter. So maybe I have 30 letters. Like Brahmananda Prabhu had like 200-300. I mean, if I had to send a letter every week, I would have got back one every week. But I gave up on complaining. There's no way you can complain to Srila Prabhupada, because he never compromised. He never took no for an answer. And the word "I can't" was, he didn't have, if you didn't have I can't, he said, no, you better get a can plan. Because there's no word impossible in Prabhupada's dictionary. He would say so. That word is in a fool's dictionary, not in mine. Just like when I complained once that we were doing Sankirtan 18 hours a day. And because we were collecting this money, and I said, "Prabhupada, we're doing 18 hours a day." And then he looked at me like I was an idiot. 18 hours? Our program is 24 hours. That's it. There's no arguing. Because whatever you said, he would knock you back. So I got this letter, and on the bottom of it, his secretary was Harikesh. I don't know if you know this guy, but he was a troublemaker. And he didn't have any friends. I'm being very frank here. Later on, by trick and hook, and they became gurus. But that's why I'm reading you these qualities. But he had written something on Prabhupada's letter, and I was furious. Who are you to write on Srila Prabhupada's letter? Because you see, the time in those days, the GBC, there was 12 of us, and you had to be 1 month with Prabhupada as the secretary, and nobody wanted that job. It was boring, very boring, doing typing, and it's exciting to go preach, and then you got to sit here and to be around Prabhupada. You don't want to be too much. You don't want to get familiar. So it's always said around the king, or the spiritual master, one should not be too much with them, because you may make offense. You may get familiar. Just like I've seen his servants. I'm not going to name them, but I saw them starting to tell Prabhupada what to do, and telling him he can do this or he can't do that. That's a private talk. But so I got on the plane 2-3 days later and flew here, just for this purpose. Flew direct to Vrindavan. In those days the taxi was very slow to come here. It's slow now, but Anyway, I came, I went in the room, and I just handed Srila Prabhupada the letter. I didn't say anything. I said, Srila Prabhupada. He was very surprised, like, what are you doing here? And I gave him that letter. Then he looked at it. He said, oh, he has become over-intelligent. Didn't have to say anything. So then he said, call him here. So somebody called him. He was doing the typing. That's why I'm saying that. We didn't want to do it. He had no service, so he was doing the typing. So it's funny, because Hansaduta Prabhu, and none of you probably know Hansaduta, but he was a real character. he had a lot of charm, a lot of charisma. He got a little carried away with himself, I think. But, he was quite capable and extremely intelligent and good at making arguments. And in the very beginning, he was like the first book distributor, too. So, you could like him or not like him, but you can't deny that he had a personality that attracted a certain amount of people. So he was sitting there. He was out of Germany for the Schloss problem at that point. But he was sitting. So Harikesh Prabhu comes in. And, he's very ambitious, but he had no service, nothing to do. And so Jayatirtha didn't want to be in Germany, and Hansaduta was kicked out. So Prabhu said, "You're a very intelligent boy. You should go preach somewhere." And he said, "Well, where will I go?" So Hansaduta says, "Well, you can go to Germany." And immediately he lit up. And Jayatirtha Prabhu didn't want nothing to do with Germany. He was the GBC. He didn't like Germany. So it was vacant. And so immediately then how'll I get there? So I said, there's a bus that leaves from Delhi. There was a bus that went all the way to Amsterdam. What was the name of it? Huh? The Magic Bus, yeah. It went through Pakistan to the Khyber Pass. It went up through Iran. It went through Afghanistan, and it went through Turkey and all the way. So people would take that bus. Quite dangerous too. There's, you could fall off. There wasn't any terrorism then, but there were hills you could go off of, and the bus could break and this. So I think there's a bus. And so, he got very angry. He said, "Well, I might as well just hitchhike." And Srila Prabhupada, he did not like any attitude like that. And he just said, "Yes! And you can walk also." So then Srila Prabhupada said, "Gurukripa, you give him the money." I said, "Prabhupada, I don't like him. I'm not giving him any money." I said, "I don't like him at all. I have my reasons." And, you have to understand, we were God brothers, and so we had fights. And it was very intimate. We surrendered, and we were here, year after year, totally committed, not having any bank balances. It was all service for service. There was no personal, agendas. And so, we had Shakti, we had power. We've been working for years on the street. When I joined, it was 10 hours a day chanting. That's what we did. Day in, day out, So years later, we've learned the philosophy, we've learned a lot of slokas. I've been all over South India preaching, all over many places. We'd made many devotees. We had our own followers and people, not disciples. But, no. So Prabhupada said, "Okay, I will give you them." So then he leaves the room, and then I said, "Srila Prabhupada, forgive me, for saying no." But I said, the fact is, he thinks I'm rich. And so if I give him the money, then he's going to think, "Oh, it's Gurukripa, I ain't going to give it back to him. And that's that much less money I have to give to you." Prabhupada said, "Very good idea. Very good." So he went off. He did okay, whatever. But, okay, and the spiritual master, he's able to deliver others. He can bring you to Vaikuntha. If you have some man, he's saying, "I'm a spiritual master, I will give you Diksha." What he's saying to you is, "I can take you to Vaikuntha. I can take you," which means he must have been there or he is there already. Now, if you have a neophyte guru, because many people are saying they're gurus, you can go to Radhakund, you'll find hundreds of these Babajis up there that say they're gurus. You can go, every ashram has a guru. And even in our group, there are so many people that say, "I'm a guru. And I'm authorized by ISKCON," whatever that means. Prabhupada said, "I am ISKCON." because I told him I don't like ISKCON. And Prabhupada said, you don't like me? I said, I like you, but I don't like ISKCON. Because I was having trouble with so many people. And I said, Prabhupada, if they act like you, they're ISKCON. If they don't act like you, they're not ISKCON to me. So then he said, all right, you just stay with me then. You be the person, you answer to me only. Because there was these things. So the spiritual master, he should be able to deliver you. And if he says, I can take you to Vaikuntha, you have to tell people, you can ask him, are you in Vaikuntha? Prabhupada was in Vaikuntha. I've seen it. I've seen everything. I've seen all of these things you read in Nectar of Devotion manifested in his body, personally and privately. I've seen that by his grace, letting me see that. I've seen all these things. And I've seen him not only in those states, but I used to bring him a coconut. When he would come to Honolulu, I used to bring him a coconut at 4 o'clock. Probably would take rest, his little nap. And then at 4, he'd ring the bell, and I wouldn't let the servant come in. Shuddha Kirti used to get upset because I used to push him out all the time, and I'd take it myself and sit with him. And he would be drunk, absolutely intoxicated. When people wake up, they're where am I? And they're all, sleepy-faced, No, Srila Prabhupada was intoxicated, just like, somebody had smoked a whole bunch of weed or something. I mean, he was loaded, but it was spiritual ecstasy. And you could feel it. Just like if you get near a fire, you feel the heat. So you get near a person that's is feeling ecstatic symptoms, you feel that coming. So Prabhupada would be intoxicated on a daily basis with his nap. He would go to Vaikuntha. He would be in Leela, and then he would come back down on this level. And the first thing he would always talk about, not every day, but I mean pretty much, he'd immediately start talking about the conditioned souls. He would quote Prahlad Maharaj about, how they are suffering and how they won't take to Krishna consciousness. He used to say, who is coming? Wake up. Who is coming this afternoon? Oh, some man is canceled. Yes. And then he would go on. So it's, that is, the quality of the spiritual master. And he's also able to surmount obstacles. What to speak? We can't even begin to talk about the obstacles Prabhupada surmounted. All of us were his obstacles. And he dealt with so many people. And to acquire this property, the obstacles, the Mumbai property, that everybody knows the story. It's famous. Mr. Nair, sold it to 15 other people. And the stories are there. And Los Angeles Temple, there are so many, but nothing was, in Mayapur also, to get that land. They did not want to sell it to us. And Prabhupada did by, he was very intelligent how to do everything. He used to say, if I had 19 submissive devotees, I could take over the world. But most devotees weren't submissive, especially after they learnt a little bit of Krishna consciousness, and they thought, I can do what he can do. Then the weed were growing. The operads were in the mind. Oh, I know how can give a good class. There was a time when Karandar Prabhu, you don't know Karandar, who has leprosy now for these offenses. Yes, he's in Brazil, it's curable. But there was a time in Los Angeles where Karandar was speaking in one room. He was a very good speaker. Karandar had this Buddhist thing about him, and he went to become a Buddhist later. He could speak with his eyes closed, and he was really good. If there was Karandar in one room and Prabhupada in the other, you'd probably get 50-50. Some coming here, because they didn't know who Prabhupada was, and others became ambitious, and they saw here's an opportunity. So, the spiritual master, Prabhupada, he was able to surmount obstacles, and he wanted to quit. We all know that. He wanted to leave the devotees. They weren't submissive. They were making up things. At one point, they started saying Prabhupada was God. So he said, I'm going back to Vrindavan, you can have it all. He wasn't attached. I want to go to my room. That room you see in Radha Damodar, it wasn't nice like that. It is now. It wasn't painted. It was very simple. A rickety old fan. But Prabhupada could leave in a second. He was detached. That's why I brought the watch thing up. I forgot. The point was that some people are wearing these watches amongst the sannyasis. And they think that they're Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada wore a watch. What does that mean? Those were gifts. Do what he did before. You've seen his diary. 5 paisa, 10 paisa, 1 rupee to go to Delhi. Every rupee he recorded. He never collected. He only took something because it was given in devotion. And look what he did. He didn't keep any money. He had Rolls Royces in Los Angeles. He had Cadillacs. He had, you name it. He didn't like Mercedes and he didn't like Rolls. He liked the Cadillac because it floats. You've driven Cadillacs. You never driven a car till you drove a Cadillac. I mean, those are like boats on yeah, they float. And the Lincoln Continental, yeah, America makes the best cars, the old cars. But anyway, he wasn't attached, but he would comment. Yes, remember we got him a stretch limo in Honolulu, and so we could sit across from him. And Prabhupada said, "This is a super excellent car," But he wasn't. So the people want to say, "Well, Prabhupada did it." Well, you first become Prabhupada and travel the ocean with no money. He didn't have $7. That's nonsense. He had 40 rupees, and you can't change rupees in America. So he had nothing. And the only way that he had any money is when he landed in Boston Harbor, as he sold a set of his books to the captain of the ship for $20, for $20. Otherwise, he came with nothing, and he sold one set. He sold the first set of books sold in America. Prabhupada sold them to the captain of the ship for $20. Then he had $20. So then they wanted, he has a watch. Why you need a Rolex in Vrindavan? Someone told me I saw them with a Rolex, big shot, yesterday. I said, where do you get that Rolex? I know you're living at the temple, you're maintained by, you're not an independent businessman, then you do what you like. If you have your own company and you're earning, you can buy anything you want, But you're a manager within the ISKCON, and why are you wearing a Rolex? Oh, Krishna gave it to me. I said, really? He came to your door and knocked on it, and you opened it up. He said, here, I bought you a present. No. He gave it to me. I said, well, you're just going to get it. You're attached. I'm not attached. I said, well, then give it to me. No. So they can't imitate Srila Prabhupada, and we shouldn't. He had Gargamuni gave Srila Prabhupada a Tulsi and gold necklace. And he was wearing that for months and months. And then all of a sudden he saw 3, 4, 5 disciples had this Tulsi gold necklace. So Prabhupada immediately took his off. He said, don't wear this. Immediately he took it off. And remember, he used to chant, if you hear some of his bhajans, because in the beginning, we used to sing, it wasn't Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya. We used to sing Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Bhaja Shri Krishna. And Chaitanya Charitamrita says Jai. Prabhupada used to sing Bhaja. And we all sang it. And then all of a sudden, these people started singing Bhaja Hare Krishna, Bhaja Hare. Prabhupada said, stop that. And then he stopped doing Bhaja. He understood. Before he came to, you have to think, Prabhupada didn't know what was here in the West. He took a bag of oats with him, thinking there's no food. He was prepared, to eat, he brought flat rice and oats. He didn't know, and he was surprised. He thought everything was meat eater, and all of a sudden these vegetable market, even an Indian store. He was fascinated. Oh, all these Indian things, papadams and things, everything is here. So he came, and one should not imitate the great, like Lord Shiva, and drink an ocean of poison, but you should follow in their footsteps. So, spiritual master is the best of Brahmins. He's expert in yagnas, mantras, and one who goes to the heart of the matter. He doesn't play politics. He doesn't have another agenda. He doesn't say this to you and that to somebody else. He goes right to the heart. Don't waste the time. And he is aware of the secrets of the spiritual philosophy. So all these things are some of the qualifications of the spiritual master. He's a performer of Pushcharana, expert at chanting mantras and yagnas. Prabhupada was also expert. Some people are, this is not, Prabhupada mainly said that we should just chant the Maha Mantra, but he was aware of what is needed, austere, truthful. These are the qualities of a spiritual master. So that this goes on. Everybody should read. It goes on. A person who is greedy to get worship, praise, and money from his disciple is not a true spiritual master. A true spiritual master is an ocean of mercy, perfect, a person who does good to everyone. So you can go on if you can. You can download this Hari Bhakti Vilas for free on ISKCONmedia.com, www.iskonmedia.com, and everybody should read it once, this Hari Bhakti Vilas, and get an idea of really what is expected to be, because it's mainly writ for householders. It's a book meant for us people. Any questions? Anybody wants to hear something? Okay, so is it RT going on? What? 6:30. All right. Any questions? I need a question. Well,
I got a question.
Yeah.
Did you ever ask for something from Prabhupada and did he say no?
no, Prabhupada never says no to me, even now. He says no when it's not good for me, because I want too many nonsense things. Just like a father would give no to the child. No, we're eternally related, and all of us are all eternally related, but I got chastised many times. There was a time Prabhupada didn't talk to me for 6 months. He was so angry at me. I took the deities out of Tokyo, Radha Krishna. Because we had to leave, the immigration was after us, I took the deities. And Srila Prabhupada told me, he said, I will close Mayapur before I close the Tokyo temple. Now the temple's dead. The man in charge there for 35 years hasn't done a darn thing. But this is going on. They can't do something, and they don't do something, but they won't call some other devotees and say, please, you take a crack at it. They just want their name on the letterhead, and nothing happens. They don't care about the conditioned souls. They just care about their position. So, yes, Prabhupada would chastise me. Once I came here, he was walking amongst the bricks. The first thing built was Prabhupada's house. You should know that. As the construction started, the house went first. And this is a gorgeous house. Absolutely gorgeous. Have you gone up to the roof? You can come out in the garden and go up. It is open. Prabhupada has a bedroom up there and a toilet and a whole... He used to sleep up there in the rainy season. So it's very nice up there. And the Sarabi is genius. Just an excellent house, the whole design of it. And even this guest house. He did everything, Sarabi. He left us recently, but the work he did is indescribable, inconceivable. 24-hour we had construction, big lights. This guest house was built in 3 months. 240 workers, 24 hours a day. And in the Namhada, we kept the money flying. Because that's why Sarabi loved us to death. Because there's nothing worse than a contractor that runs out of money and everything shuts down. He loses all of his workers, loses the momentum, everything. So if you compare, that Sarabi didn't do the Gurukul, somebody else took that. He went to Bombay to build Bombay Temple. But it's after 45 years, look how it is still holding up very nice. And they were very cheating then. They all mixed more sand and concrete and so forth. So Prabhupada was walking amongst the bricks out here, and I just came, and I gave him this receipt for a large amount of money, and then he said, go take your bath, and I went and took my bath and came back, and I had on an orange dhoti, orange shirt. But when you dye silk, because in those days we didn't have any Loy Bazaar, we had to buy cloth, and then we had to dye it ourselves. And so we used to use either rock dye. There's rock dye. There's a natural one, but that probably didn't like that. It's too reddish and it fades. So we would buy the chemical dye. And when you dye silk, you see the color of this brahmachari's shirt? No, not yours. This one. If you don't do it right, the silk will turn yellow after one washing. So you have to, we learned by, trial and error, all this. So you got to put more orange and make it heavy orange, and after two or three washings, it comes to the right color and stays there. So I had a newly dyed one, and it's very close to looking like a Mayavadi. And I came, and after giving Prabhupada all this money, the first thing he did is he screamed at me, "Never let me see you with that color on again. Take it off immediately." So I just went and washed it about 4 times and had it on the next day. He didn't notice it. But, he was like that, and he was very strong for everything. And Prabhupada would, like I say, there's the fact is there's 2 types of people that would come to Prabhupada. We were discussing this, I was discussing this with somebody. The fully surrendered soul. Maybe you are the best businessman in the world. Maybe you're the best cook in the world. Or whatever. You would come and you would bow down to Prabhupada and you would say, "I'm a murka, I'm a fool. Tell me what service I would be fit for." And Prabhupada always knew. Okay, you be the collector, you go in the kitchen, everything. Because he's seeing Krishna, he knows. Whereas there's another type of person, he has reservations. And he does, I've seen so many devotees, temple president, they didn't want to get in the room with Srila Prabhupada. They would be at the back of the door, way in the back of the room. Because he may, in one word, change your life. He may tell you to go to Pakistan or something. And then you'd have to say, "No, I can't do this." So they were scared. I met the temple president from Detroit. He was terrified of Prabhupada. He used to stay in the back. So the other type of devotee comes. We had one devotee, he come and said, "Prabhupada, I want to be a professional golfer." So Prabhupada knows he can't surrender any more than this. He said, "Are you good?" He said, "I'm very good. I can be professional." I said, "Then do it and give the money to Krishna." You see, if I came and said I want to be a golfer, I would get smacked. So it's a question of, some would say, "Prabhupada, I want to make a farm." Do it for Krishna. And others were attached. Some properties that we had, the devotee was attached, and Prabhupada didn't like it. But I'm not going to mention that in public, but he accepted because they couldn't change. And Bhagavad Gita says, don't disrupt the mind of the ignorant. Encourage them. So Srila Prabhupada would encourage the devotee to continue serving. That's all the expertise of an advanced devotee. Because he can see the heart, he can understand the proclivities, he can understand what you're going to do. He knows exactly what you're going to do in the future. I mean, I can tell you something quite private. It's very far out. But we were standing in the window. We were looking out in Honolulu, looking out the window in Prabhupada's room. And there's a story of Bali Mardan and his Toyota wife. She wasn't Toyota. She was actually a hooker from New York that had told him she was like 30 years older. He was 28 and she was like, I said she was 50 and probably, no, 60. I mean, she had the skin hanging, and she'd shake it and they were just, I don't know, he was hypnotized by her, but she said she was the heir to the Toyota family. So, that was all just, didn't take long for us to realize it was all nonsense. And then he saw her, and then he told me he was looking, he said, I could understand if she was young and beautiful, but this, I cannot understand. She was an old lady. And anyway, then he looked at me, and, I was 22 years old, and Srila Prabhupada told me to take sannyas. And now, what 22-year-old knows what that is? I mean, I joined when I just turned 20. When I was 19, I was in Vietnam. And then I'm 20, and I'm in the Hare Krishna movement. And swept up in the wave of the energy. I went to a Sunday feast, and the next Sunday I was shaved up. And I had thousands of dollars, and I gave it. And it went for the first 3-car Rath Yatra. And next thing you know, you're cleaning pots, and next thing you know, you're on the street. Next thing you know, you're in another country, and next thing you know, 5 years have passed, and so it was very quick. And next thing you know, Prabhupada left. It was so like a flash of lightning in the sky, his coming and going. And then we were left all like Arjuna, just like bewildered. So at 22, then Prabhupada told me, because we'd gone to South India and opened the Tirupati temple, then the Ranganath temple, and opened the Bangalore temple, first ones there, and the Coimbatore, and Madurai, and all these places, and made many members and collected. So Prabhupada started calling me Maharaj. I said, I'm not a Maharaj. Now, immediately. So on Ras Purnima, he gave me this sannyas, and I didn't ask for it, and I didn't want it. So, but I got accomplished what had to be done, because it's an external thing. It's a varnashram thing. If you are thinking aham sannyasi, then you might as well be thinking aham, aham body, aham woman, aham man. It's another aham. One always should think, das, anudas. One should always treat every living entity with kindness and see that, that they are all servants of Krishna. And just like Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyas, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to him, why are you taking sannyas? You're such a young man. Now before you could wander amongst the people. Now people will bow down to you, and you will start to think, I am a sannyasi and you are lower than me. And then you will make offenses. So this is not good for a young person. Actually, sannyas should be taken by people 65 and over. It should be done at 60 years old or over. But we were young, and Prabhupada had a plan. So we're looking out that window, and then he looked at me and he said, when you're having sex, and I'm looking around going, wait, I'm not having any sex. But he said, when you're having sex, you should study the face of the woman. You won't find it very attractive. And I went, okay. So, it is sex is like going to the toilet. There's all faces and noises. It's really, if you study it, it's really gross. So, as you get older, you can really, understand that very clearly, and your body starts falling apart. But Prabhupada knew, what my future would be, because there's no astrologer on earth would read my palms and say this guy's going to be a sannyasi. Maybe later on I will be, because I go into my Jupiter, but not then. So Srila Prabhupada had a plan.
I want to know if you could talk a little bit about how Prabhupada appointed the first 11 acharyas who take spread in his absence.
Well, you can go on, you can Google Gurukripa's interview with Bhaktidas. We have 175,000 hits on that. And I've answered that very clearly about the appointment of 11 people. If you can go Google that, Gurukripa and Bhaktidas interview, and you can read it. It's covered very clearly. Because it's a very simple thing. There was no appointments. There was only a temporary arrangement. And I was in the room, I can say it clearly. And then later on, the ambition of the conditioned souls. Just never forget, you're in the material world. We are not in Vaikuntha. This is a place where people come to exercise their desires. And one of those desires is to pretend, part of the cheating propensity, to pretend you're something you're not. So you pretend. It's just like in general, people pretend to be something else. Women are big cheaters. They all put on makeup and cheat us till they look great. I saw in the paper recently, some guy divorced his wife the morning after the marriage. He said, I saw her for the first time without her makeup, and he wanted an annulment. He wanted it all finished. She cheated me. He is in the paper. He took her to court over it. She cheated me. So I'm just saying, some people want to be the guru, and that's cheating unless you've realized it. And some people are doing okay. They're Prabhupada called it monitor of the class. When the teacher's out, takes a break, he appoints a monitor to supervise. So some are doing a good job at it, and they're not pretending to be something they're not. And in the beginning it was extremely terrible because 11 guys were pretending to be Prabhupada. Now these guys are all gone pretty much for the operads, but now the gurus aren't so, they're careful, they understand that. But then it was really off the hook. They would stand there and do like this and act like that, and you understand, we all left. They chased out 2,000 devotees. They destroyed Prabhupada's mission. And it was all a conspiracy, it was all, organized crime. They're all war criminals, in my opinion, and others. It was, it wasn't Prabhupada's order. And tell me, after 7 years of being a devotee, who's fit to, who's self-realized? Tell me. Everybody in this room's got to have been around at least 7 years. How far have you advanced? I've been around 45 years and I don't know anything yet. I don't even know why I'm sitting here. People tell me to do it, so I do it. One thing I do know, that Krishna's God, and shining the holy name is the only way to get his mercy. It's the only thing in Kali Yuga. I know that. I know that Krishna's God, and I know I am not God. That I know. But as far as knowing other higher things, that time will come when Prabhupada takes me. Because the Guru will take you when he's satisfied. I heard Sarup Damodar Maharaj in his last few weeks, Prabhupada took him to many planets to show him many things. And he said so. So generally, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam that the spiritual master or the devotees that execute devotional service, they get the whole chunk. They get the whole chunk. It's just like if there's an insurance policy. They give you the whole chunk at one time. $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. Retro. So Prabhupada writes that at the time of death, All the Sukriti we get it at one shot. And then you can realize, and you have a chance. Krishna will ask, do you want more? No, I'm done. Then, come on. And you get all that Sukriti at one time, and then all this becomes real. Because that is our natural state. Jive Swarupoi Nitya. It is our natural constitutional state. Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said there is only one consciousness, and that's Krishna consciousness. Just like there is only one light, and that's sunshine. You can say shine, but that comes from sunshine. Without the sun, there's no shine. And without Krishna, there's no consciousness. So those who do not have Krishna consciousness have no consciousness. There's animal or bodily, but that's not consciousness. The only consciousness is Krishna consciousness, purified consciousness, seeing Krishna. And those that don't have it have no consciousness, Prabhupada said. They're dead. Because basically they are the walking dead. So that is the consciousness. So I do believe that. I understand that. And as far as at the time of death, yes. I said to some of my God brothers that went to Narayan Maharaj's camp, breaking up things more. They're leaving Prabhupada's institution. I asked them, I can guarantee you one thing. At the time of my death, I'm 100% sure Prabhupada will sit on my bed with me. He'll sit there. And then he'll say, you blew it again. You got to go. I gave you another shot at it and you blew it again. Whatever he says is fine. I accept that. And I can give you some proof of that. We had a god brother named Priti Pritu. I can never say the guy's name. It's like Prithu Priti or Prithu Pritri. He's a French fellow. He took sannyas. He was a bit of a, wanderer, and, whatever. And he left Krishna consciousness. And he went back to France, and he had a girlfriend for 10 years. And so all of a sudden he's got some AIDS or something, he's dying. So just before he died, he sat up. He couldn't even move for months. And all of a sudden he sat up, said, "Oh, Prabhupada, you've come." So she heard that, and she said, "Who's Prabhupada?" He never told her a word. She said, "Who's Prabhupada?" So she went looking around, and she ended up, by Super Soul's arrangement, at the temple in Paris. She walked in and said, "Who's Prabhupada?" They said, "Here's Prabhupada." And then she said, my boyfriend died, and he sat up and said, "Prabhupada, you've come." So then she showed some pictures, and "Oh, that's Priti Prutu." He disappeared. So even though he had forgotten Krishna, Krishna didn't forget him. And that's a friend. Krishna says, "I am the friend. Bhoktaram yagnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam nyatva shantim richati." That is a friend. You may forget, but he doesn't forget. And he will always be there. Who can be a friend like that? A friend in need is a friend indeed. So that is a friend, and Prabhupada is the friend. He will be there. So for the Narayanite people, I said, "Can you be sure?" Because we had one god sister, Mula Prakriti. Mula was a big book distributor. She sold thousands and thousands of Srimad-Bhagavatams and collected more than $1 million. She collected a lot of money. She'd come back with $700-800. These poor sailors. She was expert at getting the sailors. And she died quite young, actually. She had gone to Narayan Maharaj's place, and we were all against this type of thing, because he always says things about Prabhupada that were negative and told lies. I know him, so I'm bringing this up, because he's been passed. So she came down with the cancer, and she flew from California, came right here, and within a week, she left her body in the MBT. So just when she was laying there a day or two before, Narayan Maharaj came here. And he told her, this fellow, just think of me when you die. And she told him, no, Prabhupada's already here with me. You can go now. She threw him out. You can go now. Prabhupada is sitting with me. So you just keep up the work. Keep up the endeavor. There's no loss or diminution in this. And the reward is guaranteed. You know, but if it all manifested right now, we'd be we'd be running around, you know, singing and dancing. And no, it will come. I know it, you know it, and I hope you will know that. You just have to continue the determination, you know.
I heard that. Wait.
We have one more question because I want to go to the Damodar time. Arctic.
Some of us have heard that Srila Prabhupada actually requested all of his disciples to be with him.
What?
Requested all of his disciples to be with him at the very end. Somehow that didn't get communicated. Do you know anything about
Oh
that?
yeah, I know everything about it. We were talking with someone today about that. My room was room 44 up here in the guest house. And Prabhupada, in the last few months, he lived on the roof. His bed was, if you go there, there's a covering, there's a roof there, half roof, and the bed was put there under the fan. So I used to go in his room at 1 in the morning and massage him till Mangal Arati, 3 hours. I would be in his bed with him. Quite fortunate. That's another story. But in the morning,